Good evening and thanks for joining us for our Facebook Live Monday Math Mania with Strategic Intervention Solutions. My name is Shannon Samalski. Today on our Facebook Live we're going to be doing multiplication facts and how to help your students or your children to be better at looking at how to do the multiplication facts with just not memorizing them but actually understanding the concept. If you've joined us before for our Monday Math Mania, we've done different strategies on subtraction, addition, and also doing some different activities with the abacus and the rec and rec. We will be doing different Facebook Live videos throughout November. However, we're taking off next week, which is Halloween, to just give ourselves a break. On our website, on SIS4teachers.org, you can access lots of free information and our blog. We have lots of things under our free resources under the math. When you go onto the website, there's a pop-up screen that will ask you to put in your email address when we update the blog or put any new free information on there. It will send it to you. Last week we had a contest. We did a lot on our subtraction strategies using the place value discs and strips. We had a winner, Michelle McLaren from All Saints Catholic School. You won our free prize, which was the place value mats, place value discs, and place value strips for your classroom. Tonight we're having a contest that you can win one of our numeracy screeners, and all you have to do is share this in the feed on our Facebook Live and we will draw a winner again for next Monday. So be sure to share our video. When we're doing multiplication facts, I think one of the hardest things is that we want kids to just memorize the facts. We typically start our multiplication in third grade and we have children start to learn the different facts and hope that they somehow through osmosis kind of end up learning the multiplication facts. I don't know about you, but I had a large stack of multiplication fact cards, and the cards would have a pile of unknown and they'd have a pile of known. As I flipped through all the cards, there were ones that I knew really easily, like I would know the times 5s, I would know my times 2, but as something came up with times 12 or that hard one like 8 times 7, my brain would kind of forget it. And so we want kids to not just see a fact and kind of go blank. We want them to actually understand the foundations of number sense to be able to do the facts in a way that make more sense to them. And so we kind of have a progression that we're going to use when introducing the facts. Typically when we introduce the multiplication facts, at least in my mind, we do our zeros and we do our times 1 because those are easy, then our times 2 and times 3. Kids do pretty good up until about times 5 and they completely fall off the boat 6, 7, 8, and 9. And the reason for that is they aren't seeing the pattern or the connection as to why we're doing what we're doing. Instead, we're just having kids memorize it. Memorization of facts, as you know, is something that we feel is a pivotal skill to be able to do fractions and to do higher level multiplication. But the reality is that we want kids to actually understand how those numbers create larger numbers, so when they get into multiplication with partial products using the area model, or they end up learning how to decompose numbers to be able to do higher level math, they have to actually have that foundation of the reason why they are. And so in this progression, what we're going to do is kind of label this for you. I actually have a section on our website under the math resources where you actually can download this. But we want to start off kids first actually with doing the facts to 10 and then 5. And so we want kids to first learn their 10s and then their 5s. And I'm going to kind of put brackets around here because these are the areas where kids are going to see the patterns that we like them to within numbers. Once kids understand their 10s and their 5s, we're going to move on then to the 2s, the 4s, and then we're going to go up to 8s. Again, this is another pattern band that we want kids to see as they're moving forward. We like to introduce our progression in our project schools in third grade. It takes about 8 to 9 weeks for the children to learn the actual understanding of multiplication before we're moving on to others. So we have the 10s, the 5s, 2, 4, 8, and then we're going to go into 3, 6, 9. That's going to kind of be another section of patterning for our kids to see and understand. The last one is 7. We always want to teach 7 as 5 times 2. So for me, a lot of the times when I would do 7s, especially 7 times 8, I would kind of go blank, but I wouldn't think of, wait a minute, I already know that 8 times 5, I know the answer to that, and I can also do 8 times 2, and you can get the answer a lot easier. And so we kind of have these broken up into sections as we start to look for the patterns. Obviously, previously to kids getting into actually understanding multiplication, they have to be able to play with it and understand that we're not going to say the word times. We're going to say the word groups of. A lot of kids, when they get to fractions, they have a hard time understanding that when you see the multiplication sign, that it actually means groups of. It doesn't. It does mean times, but you want them to think of it in the context of groups of. Because when we get into higher level fractions, as we did, we looked at different kinds of fractional parts, you want them to be able to see, if I were to have something like 1/2 times 1/3, that actually means 1/2 of a group of 1/3. And so, although we're not doing this yet in 3rd grade, it's important to say groups of. We want kids to play, well, they're maybe doing hula hoops to understand groups of, so I might say, I have 5 groups of 3. Having kids run into hula hoops and figure out how to make 5 groups of 3 is a great way at the beginning of 3rd grade to play with multiplication. You might change the multiplication fact and say, now I want, 3 groups of 5 or 5 groups of 3, and seeing if kids can actually manipulate hula hoops in their body inside of there to kind of figure out their understanding of it. Again, kids would have an understanding of how to do arrays before you're kind of getting to this point. So you want them to see kind of the understanding of multiplication. The best way that I know how to do this progression is a colleague of mine, Kristen Hilty, who I do a lot of different presentations with, has created something called Making Sense of Multiplication. It's a great interactive journal. It's on our website. We typically in our 3rd grade in our project schools, we're giving them to all of our 3rd grades classes. In a couple of our project schools, because the kids' math facts and understanding of multiplication is so low, we've done it with the 4th and 5th grade classes this year. And so in the Multiplication Making Sense book, honestly, when I first got it, you just think it's a basic notebook with just grids in it, and you don't really know exactly what really is going on in it. This has a specific progression that you're teaching the facts the way that I have them up here on the poster. 10 5s, 2 4 8, 3 6 9, and then 7. And so in the inner cover of the book, I went ahead. Every student having this book is a really great thing because they can kind of work through their facts and the progression and the way that this is delivered. The most important thing is that you spend at least 1 week on a fact. We try to cram this down kids' throats and expect through osmosis that they're able to do multiplication. And so we want to slow things down and take a week to look at the patterns of 10 and 5, and then move into that 2, 4, and 8, 3, 6, and 9, and then the 7. Just to kind of show you an example, I'm going to flip ahead in our book to 3s. And so as I'm doing this, the very beginning progression of this talks about getting kids to kind of see the patterns within a hundreds chart as we're looking at skip counting by 3s and finding the different groups. So for example here, the kids would look out at first, seeing how many, if they built with Unifix cubes, if I put something on the table here, how many groups of 3 do I have right now? I have 0 groups of 3. So we're going to try to kind of switch our angle of our camera so that you can see as we're looking in the book. But I have 0 groups of 3, which means that I have 0. If I built with my Unifix cubes, how many groups of 3 do I have? I have 1 group of 3. Therefore, I'm going to color in the 3 to show the pattern. When I make another set, which is 2 groups of 3, now I have the total of 6. The kids build in partners, seeing the patterns from 3 to 6, and then go all the way up to 9. They'd continue on to 12. We don't want them just to shade in here really quick. We actually want them to build the groups of as they're making the connection. So this page, especially if you think about if I did 3s today and I do 6s tomorrow, 6 the next week, you're going to be able to see the patterns of what's going on with 6. Because I'm going to start to look at 6 and 12, and kids will see patterns throughout the hundreds chart, which is what you're wanting them to gain in the patterns of multiplication. On this side of our journal, we want the children to start to understand the equations that go along with this number that we're doing. So possibly on the second day, you may have the kids start to write out, I have 0 groups of 3, which equals 3. I have 1 group of 3, which equals 0. If I have 1 group of 3, it equals 3. If I have 2 groups of 3, it equals 6. We want the kids to write out their extended facts here with the multiplication equations, again, seeing the patterns and understanding it in the equation. But again, even though they're using the multiplication sign when they're saying it, they're doing it groups of. So once they get all the way through groups of, the groups of 3, we go all the way up to 3 groups of 40. And so as kids start to see the pattern, again, you don't want them to go 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's not really the point of what we're looking them to do. We're looking at them being able to create the extended facts up to 40 groups of 3 and actually understanding what 40 groups of 3 really means. As we continue, this is probably one of my favorite parts, the kids start to develop the area models that go with it. And so in this case, I made 1 group of 3. If I turn it this way, I've made 3 groups of 1. If I wanted to continue on the next one to make the area model, I would go ahead and put that I want to do 2 groups of 3. And so getting kids to kind of understand the different properties of multiplication, they would look here as they're looking at the grid and see that they have 2 groups of 3 this way, or if they turn it the other way, they would have 3 groups of 2. The kids would continue to make their area model all the way up to 10 groups of 3. So they can use this as a reference to go back as they're thinking about the different concepts. The next page we're not going to talk a whole lot about, but they would make a real life connection where kids can differentiate and be able to write a multiplication story based on that multiplication fact. So we're going to be talking about my, groups of 3 story. And children are going to be able to write. This is using Math Practice 2, where kids are able to take an equation and actually write on here a story that goes with it. We like for the kids to be able to do a model drawing to solve. They can trade papers and show. So this may be, Wednesday or Thursday in the week that kids are kind of being reminded of creating a real life story. So we were going to set up the auditorium in chairs, and we wanted to have people sit in. There's 30 groups of 3. So we wanted to be able to put the chairs together. How many total chairs do we need for the play? And so you're getting kids to kind of use that journal entry and using that multiplication story as you're done. The last part is looking at extensions. What's an extension that we could do based on our story of 3 that we're talking about? I have lots of different extensions for kids to help practice this. If we're really going slow to go fast with this, we're really helping kids to really look at this in a way that they can understand times 3 or groups of 3 a little bit slower, which is very different than just memorize it and tell me the answer. We want to look for conceptual, deep understanding with the concept. So for extensions, so we've kind of gone through the progression, for example, in 3s. We want kids to be able to do a variety of different things to help kind of focus this. And so I don't think we've had a Facebook Live without the big abacus yet, but we have our big abacus. If I'm going to look at this abacus, I would want, again in my story today, we're kind of focusing in on groups of 3. When the beads are clear to the right with red in the lead, the abacus is cleared. So in this case, I'm going to kind of do it in the reverse because I'm standing behind. I'm going to skip count by 3s, but I want you to read the beads. So 3, 6, 9. I know it's 9 because it's 1 less than 10. 3 more is 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. So we skip counted forward. Now we want kids to practice skip counting backwards. So again, if your kids don't have an abacus, you can look at our first Facebook Live video where we created one. You could probably create one for about 30 to 50 cents per kid. We're going to have them skip count backwards from 30 by 3. So we're going to read the beads. 30. I push 3 and read the beads. It's 27. Read the beads. It's 24. Read the beads. It's 21. Read the beads. We're at 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, 3, and then 0. So on the extension day, whether that's on your Friday, you're just focusing on 3s, we're going slow to go fast, they can choose the partner to use the abacus to skip count forward or backwards by 3. They also can create what's called a flash fact. I particularly like the idea of a flash fact versus a multiplication fact. This is very simple to make. You also can pre-purchase these. They're already set and kind of cut out. I just find it's easier that week for the kids to make their own. So basically what I've taken is just a 5x7 cardstock. This is also Kristen's idea, and I love it because it's all together on one. What I have done is I have cut flaps in the sides of these. So I just put 4 slits, and it makes 5 flaps. Okay, and I have ×3. I'm going to randomly put some numbers on here. So we'll bring the video camera a little bit closer so you can see it. I'm just going to put kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So again, if you couldn't see it from far away, these are kind of flaps. Okay, so I'm going to fold the flaps in. If I had 5 groups of 3, when I fold that flap in, I know that it's 15. If I had 7 groups of 3, I know that it's 21. If I did 2 groups of 3, it would be 6. If I did 10 groups, it would be 30. If I did 4 groups, it would be 12, and so forth. Okay? So on the one side of the card, I just kind of demoed the one side. We have the ×3. So the children would practice. If I have 10 groups of 3, I know that it's 30. If I have 4 groups of 3, I know that I have 12. The coolest thing is you can flip it around, and on the other side, we ask ourselves the opposite question. How many groups of 3 are in 15? 5. How many groups of 3 are in 21? 7. So the idea is that kids will just have one flash fact card per one that we're doing. You can have kids have their own individual ones, and they can save them and kind of practice them out throughout the week. But again, because you're so slowly talking about the patterns of ×3, they're going to see it again and again as they're getting the idea of it. So that's an option that they can do. Another option, if you search multiplication bump games, I usually use 10-sided dice, and then I'll use clear counters. The kids could play bump ×3. You can go online and find a lot of those for free. The other one is just using our simple number bond cards that are really great for kids to be able to practice the parts of. So if I was working on 3s, I could go ahead and pull out the 3s. Again, how many groups of 3 are in 6? 2. So you could pull out the different ones, focusing on whatever ones you want. You could have kids make their own number bond cards. But the whole concept behind this is that I'm not expecting that kids are doing facts so fast. I mean, really, kids get sweaty and they hate math. If you look on my website, I have all kinds of research from Joe Bowler, NCTM, the National Council for Teachers of Mathematics, and they're understanding that the United States needs to stop doing mad minutes and making kids feel that math is a pressure type of a situation, but actually get them to understand what it is we're trying to do. Again, if kids don't have conceptual learning, which is an overall theme in all of our Facebook Live videos, to me, we really taught nothing at all. Because if a child can say that 7 times 7 is 49, but doesn't really understand why that's 49, why that we know that we decompose 7 into 5 and 2, and I know that 7 times 5 is 35, and 7 times 2 is 14, and when I add that together, it's 49, they really aren't going to be able to do higher level facts or higher level problems with a good understanding. And so 2 of my colleagues, Kristen Hilty, the one I just spoke of, and then my friend Eliza Thomas, they just published a book. It's called Time's Up on Times Test. We actually have it on our website as well, but it's how to teach math facts for understanding. This has addition and subtraction, even though in this video I've only featured the multiplication. I just found this book, I was waiting for this to come in because it just really tells us exactly what kids need to know. The multiplication progression is in here, and it's not that you even have to purchase anything, it's just the idea of that we have to get kids to understand patterns in numbers, or really we're just kind of pressure cooking what they're trying to learn. And we know that if kids have this lack of understanding when we start to teach fractions and other things, children are really going to struggle. So check out this book on our website. Again, our website, we have a store on there with some different products. that I've authored, as well as other people. We have the SIS, the number 4 teachers.org. If you go to our website, you can find a lot of these products, like the multiplication number bonds, making sense of multiplication, journal, times up on times test. And you can kind of find a value in how to kind of slow down when you're looking at the multiplication facts. So if you're a 3rd grade teacher, try to see if you can kind of slow down, get them to understand the facts. 4th and 5th grade teachers, if you have a large majority of your kids that don't have it, we just had one of our project school 5th grade teachers that we just posted about in Facebook, that she couldn't believe. She was really hesitant on doing this, and she can't believe how well her 5th graders are starting to really understand this. So whether you're a parent or a teacher, we hope that you found it helpful on our video. We hope that you remember to share this video. This is kind of a large topic for people with multiplication facts, to share it out with other parents or friends. If you share it out, we will announce a winner and let you have one of our numeracy screeners when we'll send that to you in a download. We're going to skip our Facebook Live next Monday, so we will reconvene on November 7th, and then we're going to be featured out at in Lansing in the state of Michigan for the Michigan Kindergarten Conference. So we'll come out live to you there as well. So we hope that you share our Facebook Live videos, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. Thanks for joining us.